Hello everyone. So today we're going to be continuing with our revision for the AQA GCSE Religious Education exam. And this time we're going to be looking at planning and writing 12-mark questions. So we're going to take you through how to plan and how to write a 12-mark question and how to get 12 out of 12. So the question we're going to be looking at in this session is: the best way for Christians to grow closer to God is to go on a pilgrimage. So this is taken from the Christianity section, particularly the Christianity Practices section. So paper 1, unit 1, Christianity. And the 12-mark question, the instructions will say, evaluate this statement. In your answer, you need to refer to Christian teachings, to give reasoned arguments in support of the statement, give reasoned arguments to support a different point of view, and to reach a justified conclusion. So this wording is really helpful. It appears in the exam, and it also helps you to plan your answer. So you can plan paragraphs around these bullet points. You can tick them off. You can use them as a checklist to make sure you've got all the points you need to get 12 out of 12. Now the last point is really important as well, because it says to reach a justified conclusion. So that means you need to include a conclusion, and you also need to evaluate and link ideas throughout your answer. And I will show you how to do that in this video later on. So first of all, let's plan our ideas. So we're going to draw out an agree-disagree table. On the agree side, we're going to list points that link to the question and to say the best way to grow closer to God is to go on a pilgrimage. So we're going to be able to explain that. We're going to use examples and ideas, real-life examples of pilgrimages to make that point. On the disagree side, we're going to be making the point to say other practices, aside from going on pilgrimage, are better ways to grow closer to God. So that opens up a whole range of ideas. There's obviously many points you could include in that, and there's no right or wrong points to include on that. So if you come up with different ideas to what I come up with, that's fine. So thinking about the agree points then. The points I'm going to use, I'm going to say yes, pilgrimage can lead you closer to God because it is a unique experience. Going on a pilgrimage is a unique experience. It is an experience that is different to normal life. You don't experience the same things you would on pilgrimage in normal life. And I'm going to expand that with an example. So I'm going to say, e.g., going to Lourdes in France. It's one of the places of pilgrimage on the specification, so you need to be aware of Lourdes. It's a place of miracles. It's a place where lots of people go to pray and to worship together. So these experiences wouldn't happen in normal life. You wouldn't see miracles, you wouldn't see praying on that scale, and you wouldn't see worship on that scale in normal life. On a pilgrimage also, you're around lots of people who all worship God, the Christian God in this case, and who believe in the same thing. They're all Christians, they're all going there for the same purpose, which is to worship God, to grow closer to Him, to pray, to perhaps experience a miracle. So that brings a real sense of unity, a sense of purpose, a sense of community. And I'm going to support that by saying, e.g., the worship services at Lourdes bring a sense of community and a sense of unity, and perhaps a togetherness and a sense of all striving to get closer to God at the same time. And you encourage each other on that as well. The last point I'm going to make is that going on a pilgrimage removes you from everyday life. It's a quiet time. You're going on a journey to focus on spending time, on praying, on getting closer to God and prayer. This is the point of your journey. So I'm going to use the example of Iona, which is another place of pilgrimage on the spec. Iona is an island in Scotland. It's removed from the kind of busyness and noise of everyday life. It's quiet. It's a place of prayer. It's been a pilgrimage in a monastery for over 1,000 years. And it's known as a thin place, or thin space. A place where the veil and the barrier between God and humans is thin. And there's a connection with God that you might feel there, which you might not feel anywhere else, or in normal day life. So I'm going to say that, going on pilgrimage is a way of dedicating yourself for that particular time to pray, to getting close to God. And as we're on the subject of prayer, I'm going to reference a Christian teaching. I can reference the quote, "Pray without ceasing," nice easy quote there. Or I can reference any example or any sentence from the Lord's Prayer. Anything to do with prayer would support that point about praying. On the disagree side, other ways to get closer to God other than going on a pilgrimage? I'm going to say, well, God is omniscient and omnipresent, two of those really key words to do with the nature of God. So it shouldn't matter where you are, you can get closer to God, regardless of whether you're on a pilgrimage or you're just in normal life, in your house, at work, anywhere. I'm going to also make the point that pilgrimage is a one-off experience, perhaps something that occurs every few years or maybe just once in a lifetime if you're fortunate enough. It's costly. Travel, accommodation is costly. Perhaps it's not accessible to everybody because of the costs involved. And the effects of going on pilgrimage would probably be short-term compared to something you do every day, e.g. everyday worship, everyday prayer. I might also elaborate that and use the example of reading the Bible. Reading the Bible is accessible to everybody. Everybody can have access to the Bible online if they wanted, or in a paper copy. And actually the Bible teaches people about God. It teaches the stories of Jesus, teaches the concept of salvation and atonement, and it shows people how to get closer to God. And I might also reference, if I wanted to, the Lord's Prayer, how the Lord's Prayer is found in the Bible. And you don't have to go to Iona to pray, you can just read the Bible and see what Jesus says. And I might link this to another practice. I'm thinking practices on the spec, which one could I include? I might say Holy Communion. You could say any other practice you wanted to, as long as you elaborate it, but I'm going to say Holy Communion, because Holy Communion is accessible to everybody. It's free. If you go to church on a Sunday, take Holy Communion, it's free. It uses everyday items as opposed to going, traveling long distances on a pilgrimage. It's a regular practice, might take place every week or every month. And it symbolizes those key concepts, key beliefs in Christianity of salvation, atonement, the life of Jesus. Drinking the wine and eating the bread and thinking about the life of Jesus and the sacrifice of Jesus encourages prayer and devotion, devoting your life to God. It's what the disciples then went and did after Jesus had done the communion, the Last Supper with them. And I'm going to link that back to a Christian teaching. I'm going to use the quote, "Do this in remembrance of me." So that line from the life of Jesus there when he's talking about the Last Supper. So there's my plan. Now, I'm going to show you how I wrote this one up. So I'm going to start with the agree paragraphs. So I've taken the points in the top right there, the 3 points we had for our agree plan. If you're doing this in an exam condition, your plan might be shorter and your notes might be more bullet pointed, and that's fine. I'm just talking you through it. And you'll see in the write-up underneath, where I've written them up in full sentences in 2 paragraphs, I have highlighted the text. So the green highlights the points I've made, so I've linked back to the plan. The yellow, now this is really important, the yellow highlights my links back to the question. So I'm not just listing my points in my plan and expanding them and kind of going off on a tangent. I'm constantly linking the points back to the question. So the yellow is where I've referred to the words of the question explicitly. And then the blue at the bottom there is my quote, my reference, my teaching. Okay. So this is what I've said. On the one hand, some Christians may agree, good start to sentence, because going on a pilgrimage can lead to experiences that you wouldn't have in normal life. My first point. For instance, example there, if you go on pilgrimage to Lourdes, you may experience a miracle, mass prayer and worship. Continuation of my point. You'd also be with lots of people that focus on worshipping and experiencing God in some way. This would help you, see here the yellow, linking back to the words of the question, grow closer to God, because you would have the time and space to think clearly, pray, and see other people get closer to God as well. Also, Lourdes is renowned for miracles. And if you experienced or witnessed a miracle there, some Christians may say that was God in action and feel very close to God. And so you can see the final part of that sentence links back to the question about growing closer to God. I apologise for the typo in there. Furthermore, going to Iona might help Christians get closer to God. You see the link there, because it is known as a thin space. It has been a place of pilgrimage for more than 1,000 years and has been kept holy and separate from modern day society. This is my third point, so I've highlighted it in green. Going to Iona would be a retreat from the busyness of normal life and allow people to pray, think, worship, and grow closer to God. I should have highlighted that in yellow, but again, another link back to the question, explicit words of the question. The Bible quote, pray without ceasing, see in the blue there, it's a particular reference to the Bible, could be acted out by owner because there wouldn't be the normal distractions of work, life, children, etc. This makes it a great place to get close to God, to pray and to focus. Last words of that sentence, bring the whole paragraph, links the whole paragraph back to the question. Grow closer to God. I've used the words of the question to link it all together. So that's how I would write up the first part. Then we come to the disagree points. Again, I've listed them at the top there. Again, if you were doing this in exam conditions, yours would probably be more bullet pointed, and that's fine. This is just a practice. Writing these words up. So we're going to go through this disagree paragraph, and as you can see, I've put the words of the question at the top of the paragraph, so you can see how I refer back to it in the question. So here we go. However, some Christians may disagree because, and here's our first point, God is omniscient and omnipresent, so it doesn't matter where you are, God listens to prayers and communicates with Christians. Going on a pilgrimage could be a once-in-a-lifetime experience, particularly if the travel is very expensive. So, and here we go, the yellow highlighted words of the question. The best way to grow close to God could be practices that are more regular. For instance, and here's our second point, reading the Bible could be the best way because it allows you to experience the story of God and the life of Jesus, encourages you to pray, and teaches you what God is like. Moreover, other Christians might say celebrating Holy Communion draws you closer to God, and you can see I've put that in yellow because it's the exact words of the question. Because you are following Jesus' example. And here we are expanding on our third point. Holy Communion is a very regular practice. It helps Christians remember the life and death of Jesus, his sacrifice for them, and how they should respond to it. This is supported by Jesus' instruction, do this in remembrance of me. And that's a nice quote there in the blue, ticking that quote box. It is accessible to all Christians, not just those who can afford it. So kind of directly contradicting our point earlier about pilgrimages being expensive. So it allows everyone to get closer to God, words of the question. This makes it better than pilgrimage because God wants a relationship with everyone, and practices that are free enable this. So our final sentence links everything together and links back to the words of the question. So here we go. This is our full answer, what it looks like. And at the bottom, we've got our final judgment or conclusion. So you can see we've got our first two paragraphs that are agreeing with the statement, which we've already gone through. We've got our third paragraph, which outlines our disagree points, linking back to the question with the yellow highlighted sections. And then we've got our final judgment. So our final couple of sentences, our conclusion, wraps everything up, links back to all the points we made, and finally links back to the question in our kind of complete judgment. Which side do we come down on? Which side do we think has the strongest arguments? And then why? So, in conclusion, we write, I don't agree with the statement because pilgrimages are expensive, time-consuming, and not accessible to everyone. God sacrificed himself for everyone. So, and here we go again, yellow, words of the question, the best way to get closer to God must be open and free. And I put those words in purple because they're our judgment, our summary points that link everything together. Communion, worship and prayer would be much better ways to get closer to God than pilgrimage. So that summarizes all the points we made. Now this is a brilliant answer. It would get to about 12 easily in an exam conditions. And remember, with the final judgment, with the conclusion, there's no right or wrong way of summarizing your points. If you come down on the agree side, or if you come down on the disagree side, it doesn't matter. As long as you can link everything together, add an explanation for why you agree or you disagree with the statement, and refer back to the question. That is one of the most important things you can do, is continually refer back to the question. You can see all the yellow highlighted sections in the full answer, how I've done that. So I'm going to leave that up for 30 seconds, just to give you time to read through the full answer, what it would look like. And then that concludes our session on this particular question. So thank you for listening. Hope it was helpful. And have a watch of some of our other ones.